Hello, crafty friends. Welcome. I'm so glad you're joining me today. I'm going to be combining florals and stripes to make up a couple of cards in this video. I love the combo of flowers and stripes. They just look so perfect together. I have a couple of new products from Spellbinders that I'm going to be using. First up is this set here. It's called Graceful Blooms. Look how beautiful these florals are drawn. I love the line weight that goes from really thin to thicker in other places. And then it has a few sentiments. One says hello, love, and hugs. And then I have this fun stamp set. It's called Simple Stripes, and they are quite thick stripes. I love that. And it coordinates beautifully with this set here, the Diagonal Glimmer Stripe set. Let me put these two together to show you how they work. I have a gold stripe panel here. I store all of my extra panels in the envelope with the glimmer plate. But you can see how the stripes of the stamp set fall in between the stripes of the glimmer plate. I'll show you an example of this in just a few minutes, but I'm going to be using some Bristol smooth cardstock for all of my cards today. And I'm going to pop this in my mini Misty, and we're going to stamp out a bunch of these flowers. In fact, all of the flowers, and then I'll just use one of the sentiments. So this big stamp here, I'm going to put in the bottom left corner. This will be my focal point. And then I added all of the rest of the stamps around the panel as well. So I'm going to use some anti-static powder first because I want to emboss my lines. I'll ink them up with some VersaFine Onyx Black ink, which is a great ink for embossing if you want to do that. I love the shiny raised lines that embossing provides. And it's also great if you're going to watercolor, which I am going to do with my Zig Real Brush markers. I haven't used them in a while, and I thought it was time. So let's pull out this panel and pour over some clear embossing powder. Let me close up my ink pad so it doesn't dry out. This is detailed clear embossing powder from Simon Says Stamp. I'll flick off the excess, and then I can melt this. The embossed lines also provide some really neat texture to the card. You could skip this step, however, if you wanted to, because the Versamark ink is a great ink for watercoloring as it is. It won't bleed. Now that this is ready to go, I'll pull out my Zig markers. I store them in this little fabric basket, which makes it easy for me to pull out the colors that I want. So I'm going to pull out a bunch of purples and one green for the leaves. So I have a light, medium, and dark purple, and actually two greens, a light and a dark. We'll start with the purples. I'm using the darkest brush first at the base of the petal. Then I'll pull that out with a medium toned pen, and then I'll extend it to the tips with the lightest color. The zigs blend beautifully on this Bristol Smooth paper. But you do want to work in sections. So I wanted to show you one petal first, just to show you what I'm doing. But I am going to next pick up the darkest color again and color in the rest of the petals on this flower. I don't want to do all of the flowers because I don't want it to dry too much, because then it gets harder to blend. So now for the medium color and then the lightest color to extend it to the tips of the petals. But it's pretty fast coloring, and it's really fun to do. The centers I will paint in with a yellow brush. Might as well do all of them while I have that out. And then I'll start with the dark green. These go a lot faster, so I'm doing a lot of leaves at a time, and then I'll pull out the color with the light green. For the rest of the flowers, I'm going to just use two colors. I want them to be a little more light, more pale. So I'm just using the medium tone and the lightest tone. This will allow the darkest flower to really pop off of this card. And you can start with the lightest brush and go to the darkest brush if you want. It's whatever you prefer, but I just find it easiest to start with the darkest and go to the lightest. Now for the last flower, and again I'm using the medium tone and then the light tone. Now it looks really beautiful as is, but I'm going to bump it up just a little bit using a very pale blue color around these flowers and leaves. So I'm just doing a little section at a time, so again, so it doesn't dry. And then I'll bring out the clear blender brush and just kind of fade it out into white. This really makes it pop off of the front of the card too. And it adds a lot of interest. So I'm going to go all the way around the flowers as well as the leaves doing this. I'm not going to show the whole thing. But again, I'm just drawing out the blue color, kind of fading it to white. You could do this with a gray pen as well, and then that looks really pretty. Okay, so here it is all done. Let me give you a close-up look at that. So let's start putting this card together. I'm using my dot liner to attach this to a piece of purple cardstock. This is called Purple Mist. It's one of the Spellbinders cardstock essentials. I thought it went lovely with my panel. And then I can glue this to my card base. Most of the cards I create are A2 sized top folding cards. I just like those the best for some reason. So this is pretty much a one-layer card. Very easy to send through the mail, but I am going to add some purple sequins to this. Just a few around the sentiment and the main floral image on this card. And here's a close-up look. It was so fast and fun to put together. For card number 2, I stamped out the main floral image again and colored it in with some pink zig brushes. And there it is. I also have this pretty black striped panel, and I, of course, foiled it using the diagonal glimmer stripes. I thought it went well with the black ink around my floral image. So I'm going to tack this into place in my MISTI. And we're going to stamp up the Simple Stripes stamp. I'm using the MISTI so that I can stamp it out several times if I need to build up the color. And this is really easy to line up. Let me just peel off the acetate. And of course, you don't have to put them directly in the center like I'm doing here. It could be closer to the lines. There's many ways you can do this, but I'm just going to center it between the black lines. I'll pick it up with the door of the MISTI, and I'm using some hot pink ink from My Favorite Things. I believe this is called Razzleberry. And if I can get the lid off, I'll ink up this stamp. And I do ink it up, about 3 times. But I'm just going to show the one stamping. This dries back a lot lighter than you see it here, but isn't that pretty? So I'm going to pull this out and cut it down a little bit. Look how pretty the flowers and the stripes look together. I have a piece of teal topaz cardstock that I'm going to mat the striped panel with. And then I'll attach this to a piece of black cardstock. So let's put that on the white card base first. And now for the striped panel. I like how the black stripes coordinate with the black matting as well. So let's attach this to the black cardstock. It's kind of hard to see, so I'm going to pull out another white card base just so you can see what I'm doing here. Kind of gets lost in my black mat. or my black work mat, I should say. I'll pop up the flowers with some foam squares. And then I'll attach this to the bottom left corner again. Just trying to decide which way to put this on. I think that looks pretty right there. I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says hugs onto a piece of white cardstock. And then I'm just going to cut this down using my paper trimmer and my scissors into a fishtail on one side. I'll pop this up with 2 foam squares and attach it right above the flowers. I'll add some teal sequins around this panel just to bring in the teal mat. And this card is done. I could have continued playing with these beautiful stamp sets, and I'm sure I will off camera, but I just wanted to give you a look at some fun new products from Spellbinders. I'll have all of the links listed in the description box if you're interested in checking them out. But don't you just love the stripes and the flowers together? Thanks for watching and spending some of your time with me today. I hope that you were inspired. Take care, everyone. Bye.